I just want to mention that the East Star Step team, 2019 West Coast National Champions, they will be forming on February 8th at Taft High School at the African American Parent Summit. So anybody in this room who has a child who's in school out here in the San Fernando Valley, I encourage you to come to Taft High School on February 8th for the Black Family Parent Summit. Thank you.
At this time, we're going to bring to the stage the Heroes of Life Voices, which are some student musicians. So come to the stage, the Heroes of Life Singers. Let's give them a round of applause.
In these times, love is good. Now look at each other and know that that is your sister and brother. Today we are going to perform for you all the song called We Are the Future, written by Steve and Mike Morris of our community.
At this time, we're going to welcome to the stage Melissa Franklin. She's going to talk about a very important topic that unfortunately is still affecting our communities, our African American communities, and that's our infant mortality rate. So please give a big warm welcome to Melissa so she can speak to that and about some upcoming agendas that we have to address this issue. Melissa?
Good morning, everyone. I'll be real quick, really, with Marlene Hoodwink will be up here. She's really the advocate, the spokesperson for this work, and I just want to introduce you first of all to the African American Infant and Maternal Mortality Community Action Team Committee who's sitting here. Some of our advocates, wave your hands, please. My name is Melissa Franklin. I'm a Pritzker Fellow with First 5LA, and my role in the county is just to inspire change around a huge problem that we have in LA County, which is the fact that Black babies die before their first birthday at greater rates than any other race. That Black moms die as a result of pregnancy complications versus any other race. And the answer is in this room, it's community. I want to introduce you to my daughters, Hannah and Heaven. Hannah was 1 pound, 9 ounces. Heaven was 2 pounds, and they were both born 3 months early, and the only explanation that you give me was that I was a Black woman. And there's work in this city, in this community that's being done to make a change, because there is hope, there is an answer. Don't listen to the media reports that tell you all is lost, right, for us as a people. There's folks in this room that are working on behalf of our community so that we can simply have our babies and see our babies grow up and thrive. My children are the exception. They're exceptional. And every Black baby born, every child born in this county deserves to live vibrant lives, and their moms will be there for them, living and thriving. So if you're interested in being a part of this movement, we have a table on the other side, right on the side here. You can sign up. We have flyers. We have the upcoming meeting. Come learn about the issue and the fact that there is hope and there's an opportunity for change. I want to shout out to Ms. Marlene, who's a tremendous advocate for this work. You can talk to her. She'll look you up. Thank you so much. Please visit blackinfantfamilies.org, and we look forward to having you be a part of our movement.
Thank you so much. Well, I think all of our politicians are here, and I know our mayor's been here for a while. He's finished eating. He's relaxed now and ready for him. What we're going to do, we're going to, I see Pacoima, thank you for being here. But what we're going to do, we're going to bring all of our politicians, our elected officials, to the stage. They're going to be here and help and assist the mayor in the presentation of the Community Services Award. And I would start first by bringing our police chief, Chief Moore. Would you come? Chief Moore, you got to understand, he's been with the LAPD for 36 years. And not only that, he controls, there's about 12,857 members of the LAPD. They cover, their budget is about $1.64 billion a year. $1.64 billion a year. And he also, and he'll speak to that when his term comes around with regard to how most of the big indicators of crime, gangs, and homicides have gone down. And we appreciate that. Chief Moore, will you take the stage? Oh, Chief Moore. And then, okay, the next person's they're gonna bring everybody up. And then they're gonna have a chance to speak. The next person, is Alex Padilla here yet? Not yet. Tony Cardenas, not yet. Betty Yee is here, I know that to be a fact. Our state controller, she's here. And as I was corrected last year, controls the economy, 5th largest economy. You know, just to get a perspective of that, you know, the United States of America, we're the first, the #1 economy, and next to that is China, you know, and Japan. But just give you some perspective of that, with us being, I think, and Betty, you'll correct me if I'm wrong on this. The last time I looked, our economy, the output was something like 2.47 trillion. 3 trillion. 3 trillion. That's what we're looking at. That's it. Now we're the 5th largest. Okay, and we want Betty E. is a graduate of UC Berkeley, product UC Berkeley. We want you to come to the stage now, Betty, please. And following Betty, we're going to bring Jesse. Jesse, he's an assemblyman, recently elected assemblyman, but you got to know this about Jesse. Jesse is not just a Johnny-come-lately. Jesse had presented a case before the United States Supreme Court. Can you see how awesome that is? And he's a product of UC Berkeley as well, and also law school, Harvard. They don't say Harvard, they say Harvard. So come on up, Jesse. And then the next is our assembly person, Luz Rivas. Luz Rivas, I gotta tell you, she's our assembly person, but you gotta know this about Luz. Luz is also one of those persons, she's an MIT graduate, along with Alec Bernier, you know, he's one of those MIT persons. And also Luz also went to Harvard and received a master's degree in education. Come on out there. These are educators. So Eric, I know you gotta go, and I want to just invite Bob Blumenfield, will you please? Now he not only went to one college, he went to 3 colleges. USCLA, went to Duke University, and USC. All smart people back here. Thank you, nephew. Where's our other elected officials? Are they here yet? Oh, Bob, energetic Bob. Now, Bob, he was the Speaker of the Assembly. He was our Speaker, and Bob, not only was he our Speaker, he's back in our Senate, and he's also the majority, Senate majority in the House. And Bob is also an attorney, graduated from Hastings Law School. Come on up, Bob. If you will. Am I missing? Tony not here yet? Who else? Well, we're going to roll. Okay, now for our mayor. Our mayor, look, don't be caught off guard with that easy smile. He's tough. He is tough. Now, he has the courage of David. David, you know, the shepherd boy that took his brothers some food down when they were in the Israeli army and saw that there was a 9-feet giant by the name of Goliath that was intimidating the Israeli army. David said, wait a minute, what is this? I'll take him on, I'll fight him. That's courage. That's the courage in our mayor area. Also, he has knowledge. He has the knowledge and wisdom of Solomon. You know Solomon, they brought the 2 women to him, each one claiming to be the mother of the child and the real mother. And he said, look, here's what we're going to do. We're going to cut the baby in half. The real mother said, no, no, no. I'd rather she have him whole than we have him half. That's the knowledge and wisdom of our area. He said, and let me just say this one last thing about him. He has the audacity of the 3 Hebrew boys, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Now, if you don't know who those are, if you're not a student of biblical history, take somebody next to you, they'll tell you later. But those 3 boys refused to bow to the pressure of King Nebuchadnezzar to bow, and otherwise they were thrown into the fiery furnace. This is the kind of audacity that our mayor has in dealing with all of the problems of this city. This city of 4 million people. So we give to you, and he's going to give out the awards, and all of the members that are back here are going to help him give it out, the award. You are in the hands of our mayor, our chief executive of the city. He's called Mayor Garcetti. Mayor Garcetti.
Let's give it up for Deacon Wynn, the one, the only. It might be Monday, but we're at church and we're with you. A very good morning, Los Angeles. And good morning to the San Fernando Valley and the Northeast San Fernando Valley. I'm just a Valley boy who now is mayor of this city, and so proud to be here with my fellow electeds. I have some words to say, but if you want me to do the awards first, Deacon, all right, well, I'll say some words then. So, I want to thank the African American Leadership Organization and the Boys and Girls Club for bringing us together each year. Let's give a round of applause. There's a lot of work that goes into today. And I don't think I've missed one of these since I have been mayor. We've got a big parade down in South Los Angeles, but it is so important to be here, to recognize the history of our city isn't just about one neighborhood, it's about all neighborhoods. And especially as we look at Black history in this city, we never write out the San Fernando Valley because it has been a centerpiece of the struggle for justice and for equality in this country. Today we mark a new chapter. You know, this year I went to the birthplace of Deacon Wayne in Birmingham, Alabama, and Montgomery, Alabama. And I took my little daughter, who was 7 years old at the time, and my parents and my wife, because I said we need to understand and feel history, not read it in a book, but get out there and actually see it. Walk the Pettis Bridge in Selma. Go to that same corner where a woman who I share a birthday with, Rosa Parks, stood so that my daughter, who's been reading that book when she goes to sleep for years, could actually feel history standing on that corner for one of her heroes. To see the monument, I don't know if anybody's been in Montgomery to the monument for all of the Black victims of lynching in this country. There is nothing more powerful. Put it on your bucket list, put it on your now list to go see, to read county by county, state by state, the folks that we lost struggling for their basic humanity. And it's in moments like this that we seek not just to learn history, but to make history. To understand our role in writing history. You know, Martin Luther King took a trip and learned to value thousands of miles away from the United States. He studied the concept of satyagraha, which is an idea that Gandhi used to unite the people of India. It's best known as the philosophy of nonviolent resistance, but it is actually literally translated as truth insistence. Say that with me. Truth insistence. And while the word may have its roots on a distant shore, it has power for us here today.
Well, let's get you started.
Because Dr. King insisted on the truth, that the truth be told not just about racism and segregation, but also too about economic justice, how the color line was much more than being an encounter. It was about building wealth for our families, a gap that still remains with us today. Because if you're Native or Black, you have less wealth than anybody else of any other color. This was a man who traveled the mountaintop and looked out at a promised land that he had never set foot in, but that dream was not an abstraction. He led a bus boycott in Birmingham. He went to jail for ultimately demanding what you should demand of us: basic government services be given equally to those who are the citizens of this country. He practiced truth insistence. He campaigned against war and for peace. The question for us is, what is truth insistence in Los Angeles, in America, and in the world in 2020? And I won't stand here and pretend that I have all the answers. I'm so honored to serve with the men and women behind me, and we represent a reflection of you. But we know it manifests everywhere. In recruiting more African Americans to become members of the Los Angeles Police Department and the Los Angeles Fire Department, as we have done and are doing. In making sure that young people have summer jobs. Who had a summer job for the government when they were growing up? And that changed your life. Cut for decades, we've now built that up from 5,000 to what will be over 20,000 this coming summer for our young people. To make sure that we don't see Black and brown people incarcerated for 20 years because of a gram of something too much, but instead their lives transformed so they can give back and be a part of change. That is true insistence. We have to insist that, yes, Black lives do matter, but that means nothing unless we show they matter in our laws, in our relationships, with programs like our Community Safety Partnership. Chief Moore and I announced great news last week that crime was down yet again this past year, the lowest rate of homicides in our city's history since we've been tracking it over the last 50 years. But we showed a woman who lives across from South Park, who when she heard we were bringing
more officers to the park, said, I don't want more officers because my experience isn't very good. But we said, no, this is a program that brings them there for 5 years. They will know your name and your children's name. You will know their name. And now she calls them my police. She told the story of how when she had a death in her family and a police officer showed up, her brother thought that they were there to hassle them. Instead, they were there with roses to say, we're sorry. That's truth insistence when we build the relationships in this city that will make sure we lose nobody's lives because of misunderstandings. At this moment, the great humanitarian crisis of our time is the scourge of homelessness in our city and across our country. I might have in the city a small role statutorily, but I have a very loud voice and I intend to keep using it. Together with this city council, with our state legislators who are beginning to step up, and all of us see, and I'm going to Washington this week, and I hope you'll pray for me because I'm going to be meeting with Secretary Ben Carson, and I'll just leave it there, but pray for me as we insist that it doesn't matter whether you're white or black or Republican or Democrat, this is on all of our watch, and we need Washington to step up because this is on President Trump's watch and Governor Newsom's watch and Mayor Garcetti's watch, and it doesn't matter where we come from. It doesn't matter our party. We've got to bring our people home. And we have to speak truth and insist that 40% of our homeless brothers and sisters are African American in a city of 9% African Americans. There's something wrong there. We have to speak truth to the color line on our streets as well. Let me conclude by saying, we mark history in the San Fernando Valley not as passive bystanders. Because after that trip to India, the truth insistence that Dr. King learned, he came here, just a few miles west of here, on his 32nd birthday. Let that sink in, 32nd birthday. I love how everybody's saying Pete Buttigieg is too young to be president. He's like turning 38 this weekend. Dr. King was 32 years old, and he spent the morning in Bob Blumenfield's district. He wasn't born yet, I want to be clear. I wasn't born yet. Preaching at the Woodland Hills Community Church, and he spent the evening speaking at Canova Park High School. Let me share those words. He said right here in our San Fernando Valley, he said he was, quote, convinced that we will be able to emerge from the bleak and desolate midnight of man's inhumanity to man into the bright and glittering daybreak of freedom and justice. While he was in India with Coretta, he spoke and wrote about a night in which the sun sat into the ocean. We all know that feeling when the sunset comes, that feeling of sadness of the day lost. And he said he felt desolate and he felt depressed until he looked to the east and he saw a second light rising in the moon. And he realized that God didn't just give us one light, he gave us two. One to guide us on those bright days when things are good and we are happy and things are going up, but also a light to guide us when it is dark. And so if you're feeling down because of the state of the world or what we haven't done, remember that there are two lights to guide us. And what Dr. King inspired us to remember when he came here to this valley is to lead with that love, to be the light in the darkness, to find bridges of understanding and compassion, and only then will we find the promised land of dignity for all. A happy Martin Luther King Jr. Day to all of us. Make it count. Don't just mark history, but help us make history together. Thank you so much. So the awards for community service of these incredible elected officials, we're going to hear from some other electeds who are not award winners but should be, and 4 community members, or 3 community members and institutions. First, for Community Service Award, we all know him. He is here every single year, and he is fighting that great fight for us up in Sacramento, whether it's on transportation or housing or justice for our budget. Please welcome the one and only State Senator Bob Hertzberg. It says determined as an energetic leader right there. You've met him, it's pretty good.
Hey, good morning, everybody. I'll make it short. This Friday in the California Senate, a number of us stood to honor Martin Luther King Day. Senator Bradford from Los Angeles led the discussion, and the day was filled with remembrances and quotes and the stories of the 29 times Martin Luther King was jailed. That means you stand there when somebody hits you with a billy club, you better believe in what you're believing in. His house was bombed. We talked all the stories. But let me tell you, Sister Gorman, who led the prayer, captured the moment. He says, Martin Luther King was about one thing. And if you tie all the pieces together, it was about one thing. Unconditional love. Unconditional love. Understanding what justice is about, understanding humanity and people in all of the quotes and all of the stories. That's my message. And so I engage, and I appreciate this award for community service. I have devoted 47 years of my life. Today is another one, working on trying to beat those bail people on the bail initiative that they're doing against us. We're going to win that fight every day. Every day. And then Martin Luther King Day is not about a day off, but to remind us about being a day on, about serving the community, about being a day on in everything that we do. And that's how I live my life. That's how so many folks here today that I've known for so many years, Bobby's 7 years old, I can't believe it, you look damn good, Mr. Arias, for all the days and fights. But thank you all very much. Deacon, thank you everybody, Mr. Mayor, appreciate it.
Next up, Luz Rivas, who is the Pride of the San Fernando Valley Public Works Commissioner, somebody who has made sure that girls have access to science and math and engineering, who embodies that herself. Please welcome our next award winner for this Community Service Award, Assemblymember Luz Rivas.
Organization was on Van Nuys and Telfair. My family lived behind it. All my cousins were members. So I just want to thank everything that you've done for our youth in this area, much needed services. As a legislator, I have focused my work on youth and children because I think it's important for them to be civically engaged, especially from our communities. When I think of Martin Luther King Day, I think of when I was at Telfair Elementary School in Pacoima. I learned about Martin Luther King Day in my 3rd grade class in 1982, January 82, or I think it might have been 82. And Martin Luther King was not a national holiday then. And I asked my teacher, why isn't it a holiday? I don't understand. We need to honor Dr. King. And I wanted to know, who can I talk to? And she goes, well, you should probably write a letter to the president. And I was like, wow, my teacher knows his address? I can't believe it. And she said, don't worry about it, just write the letter and I will mail it. And about a month later, I got a response from President Reagan. And he sent the letter to Pacoima. It was in a typed letter to me, explaining to me how this could become a national holiday. And I was so excited when it became a holiday because I thought it was because of me, right? You're welcome, everyone. But I know it's not because of me. I know it's because of a lot of leaders, a lot of community leaders that are in this room. A lot of people that fought that I stand on your shoulders. So thank you for continuing to fight for our communities, and I'm honored to serve you in our California State Assembly. Thank you so much.
Monteluz. Next is a posthumous award that we give to somebody who was an angel in this city of angels, an amazing woman who not only pastored to this community and to our city, but who breathes hope into Los Angeles each and every day. And I don't know if we have a representative coming up to but for Pastor H. Kathy Purdom, all of us. In her beloved memory.
I don't know if I'm supposed to say something. Can I just have my church family just stand up? You know, I truly am honored to stand here and represent my mother, who did so much for our community. Who she is still, her legacy still falls on today. And we just want to say thank you. And, you know, I don't know what to say, but it is truly an honor. I didn't have a Harvard education or UCLA or Yale, but you know what? I got God on my side. That's all I need, all right? I got God on my side. With God on my side, we can be all right, right? Thank you.
There's this other big parade in Los Angeles that I got to run to, but I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. Our amazing congressman who has represented us in not only the state legislature, not only on the city council, but has been such a pioneer, is going to take over as MC. Please give a warm welcome to our congressman, Tony Cardenas.
I have the honor of announcing this next awardee, who was somebody who has been on the front lines ever since he was a little boy and is now a grown man and a leader in our community, Jose de Sosa. Their representative to receive this on behalf of de Sosa, who was able to be with us today. The leaders of the NAACP.
Thank you. Absolutely welcome. And there's you.
Good morning. As you can see, I'm not Jose. Jose was not able to make it this morning, apparently. He's not in the audience, right? I'm Rosalind Sparber, the current president of the San Fernando Valley NAACP, and I will be accepting the award on behalf of Jose. Jose put the San Fernando Valley brand, which people think is a Pacoima brand, on the map. He will forever be known as the president of the San Fernando Valley NAACP, no matter who is in that position, and we honor him with the legacy that he has brought us through. He's very well known for 3 major events in history, one being a moratorium on the chokehold, the other being stopping the battering ram, and then the third is the Rodney King meetings. And under his leadership, there were tremendous changes made that fought police brutalities, and he did such a magnificent job in fighting racism and discrimination to where many people now today feel like the NAACP may not be relevant. We still are. As you can see, racism is still alive and well, but Jose is still a trooper, fighting every single day. He's working late, working on programs, even as of last night. He's calling me at 11:30 at night working on something. He is a forever soldier on the battlefield for civil and human rights. And today we want to honor Jose de Sosa.
Now it's my great honor to introduce someone who is no stranger to the San Fernando Valley, as he spent many of his years here on the police force in the San Fernando Valley doing justice and doing right by everybody here. And now he's the chief of the entire city of Los Angeles. I'd like to introduce to all of you, Chief Moore.
Good morning, Congressman. Thank you for that kind introduction. Good morning, San Fernando Valley. This is a great morning and what a wonderful opportunity to celebrate the legacy of a man who brought truth and justice to this country through his ever-present promise of hope in the human spirit. what I'd like you to is we give all of our service staff a hand. They've been beautiful, organized, impressive, helping us do this. So it's an opportunity for me to be here to say a few words as I'm heading down to the Martin Luther King Jr. Parade here in a few moments. So unfortunately, to other elected officials, my apologies, I'm out of order. But I wanted to take this moment and congratulate you, this valley, for your continued volunteerism. Martin Luther King Jr.'s words covered so many different aspects of human existence. And one of the greatest areas of his investment was reminding all of us that we can be in service to others, and that our meaning, our life, is aided by that service. There's no other place in Los Angeles that speaks to that service so well as the volunteerism here in the San Fernando Valley. As I move around the city and serve the various communities, many areas of strength, your volunteerism, your commitment, and not just yourself, but in your community, cannot be overstated. God bless you. Thank you for everything you do in support of our men and women. We're out there for you. We're here for the trusted you. And I thank you. Have a wonderful day. God bless you all.
This is a big city of 4 million people, and the San Fernando Valley isn't equal to any corner of this wonderful city. Can we just give another round of applause to our Chief of Police, Chief Moore? Okay, if you haven't eaten yet, now's the time for you to pay attention because the volunteers are going to look for the hands raised. If you haven't received your plate, please raise your hand. Please raise your hand if you have not received your plate this morning. Wonderful food that was prepared for all of us this morning. Wow, looks like we've got a thorough job. We've got some amazing volunteers in the room, but there are always volunteers that have made this movement what it has always been. And I'd like to just say that those men and women who are up here on the stage, you volunteered us by voting for us. So thank you so much for putting us in the service to serve you. We are your servants. So let's give them all a big round of applause. And service is something that is bestowed upon every single one of us, and not everyone heeds the call as well as others, or as intense as others, or as emotional as others. And someone who does all of that and more is the next awardee. Now, this is the award for Outstanding Volunteer Spirit, and that goes to Mrs. Barbara Grant.
First of all, to God be the glory. Please do everything I can do to enhance my community. And I'm thankful to God for my family. Church family, could you please stand? My church family, please stand. And most of all, the Valley of we've been doing this since the inception of the Martin Luther King race. And they're doing an excellent job. Amen. But I just like to say, believe it or not, I'm at a loss for words, and I'm not usually quiet. But I'd like to say that we all can participate as a community in enhancing our community. We must remember we're not alone. We need to get out and come together so we can make changes in our community. That starts from the church all the way down to our community. Thank you.
And one of the reasons why we're such a great country is because it takes individuals to collectively make organizations. And when those organizations come together, the community moves and the country moves. And because we are such a great nation, the world moves as well. So with that, I'd like to give the next award, which is Open Doors for the Community to All Nations Church. All Nations Church.
Thank you. Ask one of our church leaders, Elder David, to say something on behalf of the church.
Good morning. When I think of Martin Luther King, I remember I Have a Dream, and also it's about doing what's right. And I remember he believed in loving and serving one another. We as All Nation Church, we try to do that for the last 10 years. We invited community for Korean barbecue every year for the last 10 years, served almost like 100 community residents. And also, past 2 years, we try to donate almost 100,000 every year to our community and also to our needy community. So thank you for recognizing All Nation Church, and I hope that we could always step up and do a better job serving our community. Thank you.
Now we have the honor of having our state controller with us. Bob Hertzberg, former speaker, and I were in the assembly together. And I remember there was an amazing, bright young woman who always used to tell us how to spend the money and how to do it right, etc., and how not to do it wrong. And that is our state controller, Betty Lee.
Thank you, Congressman. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much. It is, first of all, thank you to the Boys and Girls Club for hosting every year and bringing our community together. So as Deacon Wynn said earlier, I have a great opportunity of serving as the CFO of the fifth largest economy in the world. But let me just say, it is not a strong economy unless we share prosperity. And so I'm here just to make a plug for a couple of programs, and you're going to hear from my dear friend, Secretary of State Alex Padilla. But this is 2020, it's an election year. We want to be sure that everyone who's eligible to vote is registered to vote and actually votes. It's also the year that we need to be sure that everyone in our community gets counted as part of the census. This matters in terms of money that's coming into our community. And also, I want to just talk about a program that's tax filing season. I know nobody wants to talk about taxes. So we have $1 billion on the table in California for low-income working households called the California Earned Income Tax Credit Program. Nicole Chase here has the information about that, and also a young child tax credit. This puts money back in the pockets of low-income working families so that we can hopefully lessen the burden of daily life for many of them. But I came here this morning because I know all of us are here to honor the life and legacy of late Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And as I think about him, particularly this year, I also want to just take a moment of silence and just offer our prayers to our Congressman John Lewis, who was fighting a battle that I know he is going to fight like every battle he fights, valiantly, courageously. But the reason I want to just call out John Lewis is because Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was his mentor. And I come here every year looking around this room, and this is a room full of mentors. From Deacon Wynn to all of our community leaders to our faith leaders here, this is what this is about and how we create community. And for the young people who are here, don't underestimate the power of each of you to inspire them, even in little ways, like saying thank you. So I just want to say 2020, it is an election year, and I just want to share a couple of quotes in an interview that John Lewis did for StoryCorps. And it was really what he took away from his encounter with Dr. King. You know, he grew up, as many of us I think grew up, where our parents told us, now stay out of trouble. Stay out of trouble. And what John Lewis told his mother was that I got to get into good trouble. Necessary trouble. And I think for all of us in 2020 this year, our service is about getting in good trouble and necessary trouble. So let's go out, let's create this history that we want to see so badly and reclaim our democracy and country back. Thank you all, everyone, for being here.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is true, John Lewis is an amazing human being, and I am so blessed and honored to be with him every single day in Congress. And right now, he is battling cancer, and I think it's appropriate, as Controller Betty Yee just said, let's give a moment of silence so that we can send our thoughts and our prayers and our love to John Lewis and his family, all those he touches. Thank you. Thank you very much. Next, I'd like to introduce someone who is a son of Pacoima, someone who grew up just a few blocks away from here, and now he is in charge of many things in California, including making sure that the awareness and the activity and the appreciation of our right to vote is exercised by as many people in California and is afforded to everyone equally on every single moment at every turn. And that is our Secretary of State, Alex Padilla.
Good morning, everybody. Happy King Day. Happy King Day. Happy King Day. All right, you're all away. And Happy New Year, because it's so kind of you. It's so kind of you. And let me just tell you something that I feel every single place I go. Everybody is excited and ready for 2020. Are you? You ready for 2020? Because last year's has been hard. But in 2020, there's a couple things that we can do to make life better again for our communities, for our families, and for the next generation. So I'm going to chant Dr. King because we all know the history, right? We know his leadership of the civil rights movement. We know that not just the dream, but the vision and the plan for civil rights and for economic opportunity counted on the right to vote. That's why the Federal Voting Rights Act came on the heels of the landmark Civil Rights Act, because it's only through voting and exercising our right to vote that we can support just laws in the United States of America. It's only by voting that we can uplift representatives that will uplift just laws and just causes in the United States of America. But our right to vote is only as strong as we exercise it. So as we sort of celebrate the legacy of Dr. King, if we are to honor the legacy of Dr. King, we should ask ourselves, in the year 2020, would Dr. King be satisfied if half of us did not register to vote? Would Dr. King accept half of us not casting our ballot after so many people struggled and sacrificed and even gave their lives for our precious right to vote? Now, I started by saying 2020, these last couple of years have been hard. They have been hard, from a lot of people in our community being labeled as rapists and drug users by, I didn't get to name names. The last few years where we've seen children put in cages on the southern border. The last couple of years that brought us Charlottesville, and somebody claiming that there's good people on both sides. I do not accept that vision and that definition of our beautiful United States of America. And I know you, and I know we are ready to do something about it by making sure we register and that we vote. And we're not waiting until June, because the primary is not in June anymore. The primary is March 3rd in the state of California. And even better, you can start voting early in Los Angeles County. We have early voting now in Los Angeles County, starting on Saturday, February 22nd. You can pick where in the county is most convenient to you to cast your ballot in the primary. And even earlier than that, if you want to vote by mail, that begins on February 4th. You see, this is California in the year 2020. It's not Alabama in the year 1960. This is California in the year 2020. It is not the state of Georgia in the year 2016. We're going to make it easier for eligible people to be registered and easier for registered people to cast their ballot. And now it's on us. We will be the change we want to see in our community, in our state, and in the country. I know our kids are watching. I know our kids are watching, and history will let it be known what we did in this year. Last but not least, after the March primary, and before we get ready for the November general election, one other important activity that we all need to be a part of. Once every 10 years, we need to count every person in America, every person in California, every person in the San Fernando Valley in the census. It's the census that determines our level of federal funding that comes to our community. If you care about housing, if you care about education, if you care about public safety, and more, we need to make sure we all participate in the 2020 census. So as you leave here on the table outside, there's some flyers, basic facts about the election, some of the new changes, new opportunities coming our way, and basic information about the census, including the Census Bill of Rights. Thank you all very much. In 2020, let's all be kings.
Secretary of State Alex Padilla. And one thing that we can appreciate about being a community that servants, public servants, pay attention to is when all of us show up, we want to at least say a few words of thank you and appreciation to you. So next we have Assembly Member Jesse Gabriel.
Thank you very much, Congressman. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I'm the new guy on the block. My name is Assemblymember Jesse Gabriel. Was elected a few months ago to represent the West San Fernando Valley, so I have the great privilege of representing amazing students at El Camino that we saw perform earlier, and get to work with amazing leaders like Dr. Winrow at Reseda Community Church of Christ. So let's give him a big round of applause. I was elected on the same day as my wonderful colleague Liz Rivas, but she was sworn in an hour before me, so she is the senior member from the San Fernando Valley, and I am the junior member. I will just say a few brief words. In my office, if any of you have been to my office in Woodland Hills, and I would invite you all to come, I keep on the wall quotes from 3 great spiritual leaders to remind me what I'm there to do, what public service is all about. 2 of those quotes are from people who lived in the Holy Land and worked 2,000 years ago. And the third is from the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And that quote is that the injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Because that reminds us that the work that we are doing on civil rights, on social justice, on economic justice, that is a team sport. And I'm very fortunate to be joined by a lot of teammates up here, by teammates in this room, folks who are committed to improving the community. So I just wanted to take this moment on this day, on this auspicious day, to thank all of you, to thank the deacon, to Deacon Wynn, to thank AALO, and all the folks in this room for your work and your service. And together we are going to make a difference for low-income communities, for communities of color, for working families in the San Fernando Valley, and bring a lot more justice to this state. Because this day is a reminder that we need it. Thank you very much.
Next we have a representative from the City Council here in the San Fernando Valley, Bob Lumen.
Congressman, thank you so much. Cole, everyone, I so appreciate the opportunity to be here again this year. You know, last year you gave me an award, and you even invited me to come back this year, so I'm thrilled about that. Martin Luther King weekend is special. Special for so many reasons. Because it is a chance for us to recommit ourselves to justice. For me, it's also special because it's my wedding anniversary. Now, and that's not an accident. My wife and I chose this weekend for a number of reasons, but most importantly because of Dr. King. And I think about it, my wife who happens to be African American, we could not have gotten married. When I was born, there were laws in many states in this country that would not have allowed us to be wed. And yet, we got married, obviously, years later. I have a wonderful son who's here with me today. And we both fight for social justice. As the kid, Dr. King said, the arc of history is long, but it bends towards justice. But it doesn't just bend on its own. It bends because people like you and all the people in this room are pulling it toward justice. And we need to pull harder. Because as was mentioned, another great King quote about injustice anywhere, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. No, let's go. A threat to, yes, I got it. The point is, as many of my colleagues have been saying, we have been seeing a lot of threats to justice these last years. There have been, it just feels like things are getting worse in some ways. So we need to pull on that arc of history, and we need to pull it toward justice. And we have opportunities to do that at the ballot box, as was mentioned, and we have opportunities to do that when the census comes around, to get all of our neighbors, because we need to get counted, because that's how resources are distributed. And we have opportunities every day in how we treat each other, and how we treat those around us, and what we put up with. And so let's all recommit ourselves today to justice, to pulling that arc of history toward justice, and remember doing it so in Dr. King's name. Thank you very much.
Next, our little ones are our pride and joy. Our little ones are the present and the future of our country and of our community, especially here in the San Fernando Valley. Our school board member is here to say a few words. Kelly Go.
Good morning, everyone. It is such a pleasure to be here. Thank you to the Boys and Girls Club for hosting us today and for the amazing work they do in our community and providing a safe space for our youth. It is so critical. I also want to thank Bob Wynn and the AALO, not just for this event, but for all of the work they do in our community to empower our families. So let's give a round of applause to the Boys and Girls Club. As my colleagues have said, during this time where there have been many threats to racial justice, to social justice, to environmental justice, and civil rights, it is so important that we recognize this day and recommit ourselves to Dr. King's legacy. And it's so inspiring to me to be here with all of you, our community members, our leaders, our educators, our youth, who are all here inspiring and living out Dr. King's legacy every day. It was great to hear the story of our assembly member in celebrating Dr. King's Day at Telfair Elementary many years ago. And I know this week in our schools, educators throughout LA Unified will be remembering Dr. King's legacy and passing that on to the next generation. But we recognize that it's not just about the day, and it's not just about this week, but it's about committing ourselves and committing our students to a lifelong fight to justice, for justice. And we recognize that our public schools are the pathway to empowerment, that when it comes to fight and poverty and ensure racial equity for every child, it starts in our public schools. And I want to acknowledge with humility that we have more work to do. We have more work to do to ensure that there are ethnic studies classes available in all of our schools so that the history that we are learning about reflects the history of our community. There's more work to do to ensure there are not discipline disparities for certain communities, and that all students are treated safe and fairly at school. And there's more work to do to ensure we have access to high-quality early learning and preschool opportunities, and that every child who comes through our doors makes it to college and to a great career. So I want to thank you for the work you're already doing. I want to invite you to partner with me as we continue that fight for social justice and environmental and educational equity in our schools. And thank you so much for having me here today.
Once again, in the spirit of Martin Luther King and all that is good, please, everyone, just remember, the spirit of Martin Luther King is within every single one of us. But the question is, are we willing to get up every single morning and be that every single day? Be positive, be loving, be caring, be giving, and volunteer our hearts and our time to our community, to our country, and to the world. We are the greatest nation on the planet, and yet we are imperfect. But what makes us great is every single one of you. So thank you so much for coming together this morning. Bob Wynn is going to take over the program, and the elected officials, exit right, stand in front of that white board over there, all the elected officials to the right.
Let's give our elected officials a round of applause. At this time, all of our new pastors in the valley, Pastor Ford, Pastor Rush, we want you to make it up here, please. We got to introduce you to the audience here. Pastor Ford, Pastor Rush, and first, where is he?
I'm sorry, organization.
all of our new pastors that are just new to the valley, please come so we can introduce you. This is Pastor Ford from Cross Chapel AME.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much for receiving me today. I'm not going to do like Stephen said. He said he's not going to be lost. Then you go. I just want to say thank you so much. It's been very hospitable. I hope I enjoyed my time in the community. Once again, I thank you. I thank you. And I thank all of you. God bless you. You guys.